Welcome to the School of Smothers podcast right here on the Homers Radio Network. Today we're talking WCW Clash of the Champions 15 from 1991. You'll see Tracy Smothers and his tag team partner Steve Armstrong and the Young Pistols team up with the Z-Man to take on the fabulous Freebirds. You also see Ric Flair, Sting, Lex Luger, the Great Muta, and tons of other legends from the past on this program. Also, an awesome story about Stan Hansen and Dan Spivey being sent into WCW by Ole Anderson to take care of some attitude problems that he had on the roster. We've even got a story about Salt N Peppa on the program. We got it all right here on the School of Smothers podcast. Now let's take it to the 2420 studios located on Bad Street, USA.
What's up and welcome to the School of Smothers podcast. I'm Stephen A. Turner, joined by Mr. Brandon Ward.
Gorilla style.
And the legend himself, Mr. Tracy Smothers.
It's a battle. What's happening?
If you can't see, Tracy just raised his hand up and is doing the hip shake.
That's all I can do.
I used to mark out for that in the front
Can't
row
really
all the
walk.
time. Just call me the mark. Today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit of WCW. But before we jump into it, we got some fan questions to get into. A good friend of mine, Aaron Day, is a huge fan of yours. And in the news recently, Jim Cornette's kind of made some comments about the wrestlers in PW. I don't want you to throw Cornette under the bus. I'm not asking you to do that. But he made some comments about the PWG guys maybe not being able to get work elsewhere, and you know, made some comments about them. What's your thoughts on the old school versus the new school? You're talking about the guys like that are running PWG right now, like the Young Bucks and that kind of generation versus the guys.
Oh yeah, he like commented on
that. He kind of commented that Ricochet,
Slightly,
that, those guys maybe the flippy guys, I guess, so to speak, Ospreay and those guys.
Yeah,
couldn't find work elsewhere. PWG's kind of a niche promotion that can't draw or whatever. So, what's your thoughts on today's? We kind of talked about a little bit off the air and some stuff going on.
It's there's pros and cons. I see what he's saying, but then you got over here. It's not, and I don't mean it. It's not 1987. It's not 1997. It's not even 2007. It's 2017, and the bar's higher and higher, and to do. But you still the same. Football's changed, basketball's changed, the game changes, evolves. You got to change with it if you're going to be involved in it or in some way. And I certainly can't do these guys the stuff they're doing, but the believability gets hard, and it's more athleticism than ever. Unbelievable athletes were in the day. The guys were just tough guys, and now they're more athletic, and the things they do. And what he's saying is to telling a story to the match or to the show itself is lacking, kind of. And
I can agree with that.
This is a smart podcast here, right?
Sure.
And and things that he's saying too, that they don't even know what the finish, what the booker wants out of the finish, what they want to come back with, where they want to go with it. They're going over what they want to do a long time before, and not even knowing what they want out of it. Then you want to find out what they want out of your match, what to do, the finish, and what all those things I said before you get together with the guy and do what you're going to do to go into what's next, and storyline, angle, soap opera. You know what I mean?
That's part of it.
A lot what he's saying, and I mean, I saw the thing with. I don't know if I know them boys or not. Young Bucks, unbelievable stuff they do. I saw the thing to super kick that kid. I thought it was funny. Jimmy went ape shit, But I mean, I didn't. You and Matt, and I saw Joey Ryan, and I saw the show with him. I said, and that made Joey money. And
oh yeah.
it's something they told him to do. I mean,
Sure.
and I don't know, and I know Jimmy went crazy. Don't get me wrong, I get what he's saying, but I mean, what he,
Just got to find that happy medium these days. I feel like you got to have the.
I thought, what I thought was funny, that thing Randy Orton said about the independents and dude.
Oh yeah, the dive. Yeah.
Well, first of all, no, I was just on the show with his uncle Barry Orton, Randy never worked independence in his life. His dad, being who he was, got Randy in OVW, was trained by Chris Michaels, Nick Densmore, Rob Conway, you know what I mean? Sean Casey, Derek King, all great workers, Flash Flanagan. You know what I mean? And all of them, and some of them were on deals, some weren't, and he was on a deal, guarantee, and he never worked independence, and you can see where he's coming from on things that he says and do, but, he didn't have to go that route and pay dues, and of course he did in developmental, but he was getting paid pretty good, and do you think that he would have went right to developmental if he wasn't who he is? Nothing against him. I'm not saying he's great. He's a hell of a worker. His dad, I wrestled his dad. His dad was unreal, one of the greatest of all.
That's what got him put in Evolution
of all time.
His name.
Yeah, it was of all time.
And
Bob
sometimes
Orton.
you just wonder if maybe not.
Bob Orton Jr. was the best. Great, could work a shoot. He could go with both the Briscoes and work a shoot and go with them like you.
Played a
he was
huge part of
unreal.
WrestleMania 1.
Sometimes you just
Roddy
wonder
Piper, of course, that's where he got his biggest push.
if guys are just saying something to get a reaction, So
Well,
I'm not saying Cornette would do that. Cornette,
No, but they rag on him.
Says he does that.
He means what he says.
Oh yeah. But like Randy, I can see what he's saying and do, and with some stuff that's being done and everything, there's merit to everything that he said. But then he never went that route and doing that. I can hear it rub people wrong, and that's the first thing I'm thinking. Well, you know, but I can remember his dad had to be gone a lot when they're in his childhood and things and that. And I can remember in Smoky Mountain when Cornette would bring Bobby in, Orton, and I guess they had heat for a while, and he brought him in a few times to work Bob Armstrong classics. Well, Abby got a tour to Japan, so he had to cancel, and he wanted to bring Bob Orton back to work with Bob, and Bob Orton said, "Jimmy, thank you very much. I'm glad we squashed all that," something to that effect. He said, "But I got a father and son golf tournament with my son Randy." He said, and I hadn't been there a lot of his life because I was on the road. And that dude, he said, I just can't miss that. You
got to respect that.
Yeah, I know that maybe they didn't, I don't know how their relationship is, but I remember that. And I can remember being in Japan with Bob Orton Jr., and all he talked about was his son. That's all. He drinking beer, and he just talked about Randy. You knew everything going. I never have met him,
Right.
You know how much you loved him. I know they've had falling out. You know how it is. I've had falling outs with my boys.
Around,
I know that. Yeah. But anyway, but did you see that video where the guys were mocking the RKO? Everybody was doing it. I mean, that's the generation we're in. That's the time frame we're in, and that's just everybody has their own spin. And
Vader worked an angle with Ospreay from that.
Yeah.
He did. Vader made some disparaging remarks about Will Ospreay's match.
And they did something
and they ended up working an angle. Vader made money.
I saw that Ricochet. I know Ricochet. You used to Coliseum on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Chuck Taylor.
I remember when he was 12 years old, where it seemed like
unreal. Yeah. And you not in that dude. And I see dude. It's not like a stunt exhibition. It's a wrestling. But I mean, I don't know, man. I think a wrestling show's like a restaurant. All type of food, dessert. Steak, pizza, vegetables, fruit.
Corral.
Yeah. That's the best way to put it, like a Golden Corral. I mean, really, you want to go there because you can eat it in a salad.
Those are the best shows too. When you can go get all.
And some things appeal to certain people. They may like this. They may like this the best. The reason they paid was to see this, the gimmick guy, whatever it is, and do so. And it is 2017, and everything's been done, and now everybody's smart, and I do see what Jimmy's talking about. I see what Randy's talking about. I see what the guys are talking about, and
just got to find that happy medium, right?
Yeah, I'm just hanging out. I'm just glad to be. Everybody's doing all my moves. All I can do is dance off. That's about it. You know what I mean? But I mean, I see where everyone has a gripe.
Sure.
Like you said, in 2017, everybody's smart. I think the biggest difference is the guys from the previous generations that don't like all the dives and high spots, they were concerned about making things look real. They wanted to make people think this is
Rip
a real
Rogers.
contest.
A lot of things Rip said
Now
was,
it's more
was
entertainment.
very
They're not
true.
worried about making it real.
Things Rip said, what does it say? Shit Rip says or something.
Yeah.
But Rip Rogers is trained who Tom Pritchard, one of the best trainers of all. Al Snow, you know what I mean? And they have their vision of what they do and how they portray it, and everybody is a different,
Sure.
Like even the Insane Clown Posse, right? How they do, and Russo, Cornette, Paul E, all of them had diverse, different minds,
And that's what makes it. They all come together. That's what makes the best product, in my opinion.
Usually they don't get along, but you know how it is, And,
for sure.
But Lawler, he's a great mind.
Sure,
And
they're all. If you think about that, that's all different. Ones you mentioned, it seemed like they're all different styles.
Yeah, Michael Hayes, Brian Road Dogg. He's right in SmackDown. He was always real creative before he ever got in. He could imitate everybody. He could.
Very good comparison.
He could do Dusty
with all the different restaurants.
He could do Dusty. He could do Macho Man. He could do better than they could. he could. You guys remember Jason Sensation?
Oh yeah.
He was unreal.
The Owen Hart
impersonation. Yep. Steve Austin, Sean, everything.
Yeah. But we'll move it on to the next question. We'll get one more fan question. It'll kind of lead us into our topic. It comes from Al Daring, at Al Daring on Twitter. He wanted to know when the last time you tagged with Steve Armstrong was.
It was summer of 2015, Jasper, Alabama, for Mike Jackson. I can't remember. It's called Pro Wrestling Alabama. I can't remember the promoter. God, I can't remember his name. But Mike Jackson was booking it for him. It was his show, and it was 2015. He did that then, And Steve's not working on it much at all. His son was working some.
Right.
And I think his son got a real good job working graveyard or something. You know what I mean? And made him do it. Steve come back and work some, but he's not doing
just
much.
As a show here and there.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's doing that anymore. But
that'll take us right into our topic today, which will be WCW Clash of the Champions, right?
Clash of the Champions 15 took place June 12, 1991.
Hey, before we say that, if anybody out there wants to book something to draw, do an internet pay-per-view, have something involved Jimmy and Russo.
Yeah, well,
Vince
put
Russo.
That together anytime.
We'll get that
if Vince Russo, if you're out there listening, I don't know Vince that well. He's always cool to me and that dude, but I know I always heard he don't like Southern guys, and him and Jimmy had heat, and I think I had heat with him because I worked for Jimmy, and I don't know. I ain't got he goes right down the road.
Yeah.
He goes right down the road. You need to have. He's got his own podcast. Yeah. But I mean, I think he has a very creative mind, but I think when he worked with Vince could dot the T's and I's, and of course Cornette with his vision, Paul E with his vision, and they all have a different. If you could come, that's pretty good. Brian, Road Dogg, Michael Hayes, Bruce Pritchard, very smart. You know what I mean? Tom and those guys. There's more. Dutch Mantel, very smart. Jeff Jarrett, very, very, you know what I mean? Those guys, they're with it.
Spoke about Michael Hayes. You actually took on Michael Hayes on
Delirious
this very card.
does a good job, Ring of Honor. Ian's got a good mind. He's all in there. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As I said, you spoke about Michael Hayes. You actually took on Michael Hayes on this card as it was the Young Pistols, Tracy Smothers, Steve Armstrong, and Tom Zink in a six-man match against the Freebirds, which it was the version that was Michael P.S. Hayes, Jimmy Jam Garvin, and Bad Street. I'm going to play the match for Tracy and let him talk about things as he sees the match going on. But it's from Clash of the Champions 15. If you want to pull it up on your WWE network right now, it's the very first match of the show. So pretty much as soon as you turn it on, you're ready to watch the Young Pistols. And here we go. It's starting off with Mr. Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross, some classic names.
Saw Tony Schiavone Sunday, past Sunday at the Temperature Rising 2 convention, Allentown, Pennsylvania. And he was at the Legends of the Ring, too, I believe. I didn't see him there, but, good to see him.
Yeah, Schiavone he's really getting things going with his podcast these days. One of the top wrestling podcasts in the business.
Got to give a shout out to the What Happened When Monday podcast with Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson, who said he loves him some Tracy Smothers whenever we send him the first episode of School of Smothers. So always love that. And here we go. Finally got the entrances coming out. Look at that fresh entrance gear from the Young Pistols. How much does gear like that cost? I've always wondered.
For
WCW.
both those outfits in there, and paid $1,500.
Wow.
Yeah.
WCW provide that or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See the Freebirds already in the ring. What'd you think of the Bad Street look?
Actually, I
with
got
the
it made, but they've covered it like a country music thing in Nashville. Those, whatnot now.
Bad Street. What did you think of his gimmick with the with
Oh,
the
it was
mask
great.
and the suit?
You know what? They had to. Well, before that, remember he did Arachnaman or something.
Yeah,
after
yeah,
that?
Arachna.
And they Marvel Comics or somebody sent something in his likeness to similar to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But Brad, they wanted to do something with him, and everything. He'd done a thing. The first is in St. Petersburg.
That's what you always hear about Brad Armstrong.
Brad come out and did a thing. Oh, yeah. Brad had come out to assist us with them. They sent Big Daddy Dink Hump, God rest his soul, back to back Humperdinck.
Yeah.
And then Brad come back out as Bad Street and caused us to get beat. And then we come after that, I believe, with the 6-man, and had Tom Zink with us, and Tom's he's a pharmacist. His family's farm. Yeah. He got out of business years ago, early '90s.
I was a big Z-Man fan when I was.
Yeah, he was good. He was
Tony Schiavone.
He didn't even train hardly. He looked great naturally. He didn't eat right. He'd eat hamburgers and the whole deal, and everything. Pillman would diet real strict. Jimmy Garvin was great too. Great mind. We learned so much from Jimmy and Michael, psychology and when to do things, and of course Brad was just probably one of the most underrated wrestlers ever.
See Tom Zink
him and Bobby Eaton, yeah.
And Pistols just hit a double flying crossbody off
Knoxville,
the top
Tennessee.
Heels powdered.
Yep, Knoxville, Tennessee. Clash of the Champions. We opened the show.
You were a 3.9 rating on TBS.
90 or 91.
91.
And we had not been in the Young Pistols real long. And we wrestled them, worked with them before, Freebirds, for a while as the Southern Boys, and then we worked with them again as the Young Pistols.
What'd they change the name for?
Because the Rebel flag thing and the Confederate flag on, cable TV, and the thing that happened with Rodney King and all that. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't want that, on nationwide TV.
Got Diamond Dallas Page out at ringside as well.
Yeah. Dallas not long he commentated, then he went to power plant and rest, and at like 45 or 35 now, something.
It's back when Diamond Dallas Page was the human walking.
He was pretty old, you know what I mean?
He started late.
He was 39 when he started training.
Yeah.
He's in better shape now than he's ever been in his life,
yoga. Yeah, I do it. I've got his DDP. I've been doing it for a while.
It's worked wonders for Chris Jericho.
I can at least walk. I can walk a little bit after doing that, but I couldn't even get in the ring if it wasn't for DDP yoga. But no, it was open the show, and story about this is true. During all that, after this, do y'all remember Salt N Peppa?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The singers, the girls.
Oh, yeah.
They sang on this show.
Tony Schiavone actually said PN News has them there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Well, they were just getting hot and Stevie had his own little album and they were talking music and and we were on the road, but we were coming back to my house in Springfield, where I'm originally from. We were staying there working out of there. I can't remember where we were at. We were somewhere where we could work out of home, my home. And wasn't getting to be home much then, and I had got custody of my son Kyle, and Salt N Peppa wanted us to go out and hang out with them at the bar, party with them, and hang with them. And
did you go out with them?
No, we went home. I had my son. I was picking up my son. First thing that morning, my mom going to work. You know what I mean? And didn't. That's a memory of that.
It's still a pretty awesome story.
It's true though. Yeah. And Stevie wanted to, but they were pretty wild. Stevie won't talk music,
right.
And he's married, I wasn't married, you know what I mean? But my son, and
sure.
So I can see the finish of the match coming up right here is the Freebirds have thrown all three of you guys out, kind of celebrating to one side of the fans, being arrogant heels as they should be.
Yep.
See the baby faces come up, shoulder blocks to the stomach.
Set way up, I remember it. Yep. What times
I liked how the ref counted all three of y'all.
Yeah.
He went down 1, 2, 3.
Was that Nick Patrick, the ref?
It was actually Bill Alfonso.
Oh,
ECW.
Fonzie. Yeah.
There he is, right there.
Yeah, Fonzie.
Caught it right down the middle and caused a win for the Young Pistols and the Z-Man.
Yeah.
Good match to start off the Clash of the Champions 15.
91. Salt N Peppa.
That's how this been remembered.
That's right.
Salt N Peppa.
Salt N Peppa.
Moving on from the first match, and then followed up by Kevin Nash making his second appearance as Oz, defeated Johnny Rich in a very quick squash match. He was a local guy. And then you had Dan Spivey, as you know, was
totally different.
Waylon Mercy as well. Defeated Big Josh via German suplex. Have any Dan Spivey stories? Remember anything about Big Dan?
When
kind of a mysterious guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, in the 80s, I can remember, I hadn't been in the business long when that happened with him and Adrian Adonis. And he beat Adrian Adonis up bad. I guess Adrian took some liberties with him. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he was Skyscrapers. I don't remember who his partners with first, but he was part of both Sid and Undertaker.
I think Undertaker was first.
Was he first?
I think he was first, and he left to go to WWF.
Yeah, or something. I don't remember how it went, but all I know is he was partners with them. And then I can remember somebody left. Undertaker, I guess. I can't remember how that went. He wasn't Undertaker then. Then Dan left the Japan tour and come back and to work WCW, and he might have got a little heat with him, but he got back in with them. But then I can remember Stan Hansen worked, took the belt off of Luger. Sting maybe had worked Stan a few times, and I don't remember. Junkyard Dog and Luger got in a fight. Luger tried to get him fired. So Stan was top guy, All Japan. Ole Anderson was the booker. They tried to get Ole fired. Luger and Sting did. They didn't like, I guess Stan started working with both of them some and beat the shit out of him. But Stan didn't do it through Ole beating him up. Stan gonna beat him up anyway. That's the way he works. He just beat anybody. It don't matter.
He
didn't like ice cream.
He might like you, but he's gonna beat you up.
Yeah, he's happy being miserable kind of. He didn't like ice cream. He's a mean, tough guy. A monster. But that's just how it worked. You fight for your life, but he's gonna give it back to you. But you better be ready. And and I guess they complained. Well, you know what Ole did? He brought in Dan Spivey, and Stan was Stan's partner in Japan. They were top team, and they did DQs because they couldn't really do a job because they were Bob's top guys. They were working WCW between tours and stuff. Well, Ole put Stan, working Sting and Luger, and Vader was traveling with Stevie and I, and he always wanted to stay to the end and watch. It drew the boys.
Yeah.
And they. You're going to do it anyway. They were up, End up had good matches because Lex and Sting fought for their lives.
Yeah, you got to.
They fought for their lives.
It was real.
Yeah, they fought for their lives, so they earned their money.
Speaking about Sting defeated Nikita Koloff on this episode. Also, Dustin Rhodes versus Terry Taylor.
Yeah.
Got any stories on Dustin or Terry from that time?
Oh, Terry was great. York Foundation.
He was the
Richard Morton,
the new modern
Thomas
man.
Rich, and Terry, they were great.
He had Terry Reynolds out there with him carrying the computer.
Yeah, just a great worker. Always Terry, another great mind for the business. I always thought.
Yeah, you always hear Terry Taylor helping guys out in the business.
Yeah, a lot of guys. He helped me a lot. I know a lot. Was Steve and I got to work with them a lot. York Foundation, all the different versions of them. Different combinations of them, all great. And also too, we were talking about Black Bart. For when they did Desperados, Black Bart, Dutch, and Randy Colley do it. And they did all the videos from the Dodge City thing and whatever and that Sting, Luger, and Flair got pissed about it, taking their TV time, and they canned the whole thing.
Whoa.
Production guy told us on the plane.
You talk about politics. I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
There's a
did.
pretty political deal
Sure
there.
did. Yeah. They were doing it through the thing, and what they were doing, they were looking for Stan Hansen. Dusty was booking then, and and Stan was still doing Japan and come in and Stan, well, he's in Japan. Well, we got to find him, and all that. And that was the whole gimmick, and they had them all together. And they're eventually going to turn them babyface. Well, Stevie and I were getting to work with different versions, teams, either Dutch, Randy Dutch, or Bart. And they were getting over, man, and those guys got it squashed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's true story. It's true story.
Moving on to the sixth match on the card, which is
people don't know those things.
Yeah, no, yeah. Don't they maybe just disappear? You never know what happened to it.
Yeah, cost Bart. Bart was talking about it the other day. I remember all that.
Break your career.
And I was like, Bart, I said they cost y'all a lot of money, didn't he? He goes, oh yeah.
Moving on to the sixth match that was on the card, Barry Windham and Arn Anderson defeated Brian Pillman and Elegante in a loser leaves WCW story. You have any funny story about Elegante and how big he was? Because that's what I've heard.
7 feet 7.5. David Fidel Sierra, David, Cuban Assassin, was getting him around everywhere. David was working on the hood some when Dusty, I believe, was booking it. Something happened. David couldn't be at TV that day. I can't remember how to do. Elegante did not have a ride to the show. You know, it's just how it worked out.
Yeah.
Who gave him a ride? Me. You know what he rode in? He rode in my car that I had, and it was a Gran Torino or something like that, 2-door. You know, kind of not sporty, but you know, I can't remember. Grand Am, not a Grand Am, wasn't that big a car.
Not a car for a 7'7" guy.
Right.
2-hour drive with him in the car. And God bless him, he was staring at and doing everything. He loved country music, so I played country, and he liked, so I put up country music for him, and he was happy. And we'd play basketball with him a lot, and he was a pro for the Hawks, but Argentina, I believe, Argentina.
Yeah, Argentina.
Half-court game. Knee problems. He wasn't getting up and down court. Had him on a big contract, so they finished him out wrestling. Of course, after I was done, he went and had his run, saved his money, went back to Argentina, retired, and he passed away a few years ago. Yeah.
Goodness, yeah.
Nice guy.
Still a pretty good run from him though.
Yeah, you always hear good stories. Everybody, all the workers, always enjoyed working with him.
Yeah, nice guy. Nice guy.
Moving on now to match 7, as you talked about, New Japan and WCW had a working relationship. The Steiner brothers defended the IWGP Tag Team titles against Chono and Hayes here. Hase in this one. Yeah. Scott Steiner hadn't become Big Papa Pump, which he's famous for. Was he totally different back then? Or was he Big Papa Pump, but he just wasn't showing that on camera?
He was more athletic, and he wasn't as bulky and it was.
What about attitude? Was he still?
Steve and I worked with him 3 months, and I had worked with Rick when he first started for Bill Watts in '86 a lot, and I'd worked with him a lot of times, and I'd never worked against Scott, but I'd done tags a little bit with him in the old USWA. Him and Jeff were real good friends. Mm-hmm. I still are, Jeff Jarrett, and had been around both of them and they turned us heel, and we worked with them like 3 months. They were, every night, and we would take their suplexes, their stuff, and they take our double team stuff, and Rick, it was his idea. They'd always would get the heat on Scott. He said, get the heat on me. Rick could take some great bumps when he wanted to. Yeah. He could really work when he wanted to. Mm-hmm. Boy, he could do a lot more than what he did. He tailed off and didn't because let Scott shine, Yeah. And Scott usually took the heat and Rick did the comeback. But we get the heat on Rick and give the tag to Scott. And we take their suplexes to do and take it in the, in the comebacks and do. So they take our double moves and did, and they loved that. Never had any problem at all. And they were so strong, they could suplex you 20 feet, but land you flat, and just athlete, and they were over, And,
you ever come across the Steiners today? Lately?
I've seen Scott at a few shows here and there, and it's been a while, but he owns the Shoney's now.
Really?
Yeah.
He's working TNA now too.
Yeah, he's back doing that. He's doing some independents, I think. He's
working Owensboro.
He owns the Shoney's. I think he still owns it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, last I've heard he
did. And that dude, and he was totally committed to that. And dude, he saved his money. Rick saved his money. Rick is like a principal, or
yeah, he is. He works in the school.
Right.
He works near works at the school district that Tony Schiavone's one of Tony Schiavone's relatives lives. I guess it's in Georgia.
I think him and Bossman might have had some storage units in business, maybe a dog kennel or something. I ain't sure if that's still going on. I don't know. Wow. That's been a while.
Moving on now from match 7 to match number 8 as this Legends card just continues. There's 2 more Legends in this one. 8th match was the Diamond Stud, also known as Scott Hall. He defeated your boy Tommy Rich.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you got a story of either Tommy Rich or the Diamond Stud. What did you do?
Tommy Rich is the most fun guys to be around the dressing room. Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, joking, cutting up to travel with, and just Brad, Armstrong, Stevie,
Had you seen Scott Hall whenever he was Big Scott Hall and was doing the mustache gimmick and things like that?
Florida with Scott Hall in '87 when Steve and I first come to Covering Boys. We used to travel together all the time. Scott lived in the next apartments over from us.
When you seen him as the Diamond Stud, did you think that was his gimmick, that he finally figured out the gimmick?
I think Dallas kind of helped him with that on that.
Because it was pretty much Razor Ramon.
Yeah. But Scott always loved, I can remember him in Japan, he always loved the Scarface movie, and always was quoting that.
Yep.
And I can remember Steve Austin always quoting the stuff from Stone Cold, the movie with Bosworth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Years later, he did it. He would always. They both were into that, and they come out of their own persona, and that's what made them money, right? You know, I mean, the big money that they made. Yeah.
Speaking of Austin, he was in match number 10 or number 9 as he beat Joey Maggs in 22 seconds. Did you have any idea that Steve Austin had the capabilities of taking over the industry
Steve Austin
at this time?
was considered, him and Bobby Eaton, the best heels in the dressing room. And Steve was young, but Dusty pushed him big and did TV title matches with all the baby faces, and he worked Dustin a lot, did a big deal there and it was unreal. And he was, you knew he was going to be, but what people don't know is Steve was a great heel. Great heel. I got to work with him a few times there, and I did a couple times for WWE.
Great worker, too. People think of him as Austin brawling gimmick, but he could work as well.
Yeah, and Pillman and him tagged and did, but he was unreal. He had great matches with everybody,
Moving on to the next matches, it was Lex Luger defeating the Great Muta in a number 1 contender match. Got anything on Muta? He was one of my favorites growing up.
Yeah, Muta in '88, one of my first tour in Japan when Brody got killed. Muta was like a Japanese young guy that was going around. He worked Florida.
Wow. He
worked Puerto Rico. He was working Puerto Rico. They got Muta out of there that night when that happened. I don't know how get a flight out of Puerto Rico, but they got him off the island.
Oh, wow.
He was their man, their prime. And then not
too long,
somewhere after that, Muta went to Atlanta. And then when he come back and his run done in Atlanta or maybe before Atlanta, somewhere in there, when him, Chono, Hashimoto did the Three Musketeers and drew big bucks in New Japan. You know what I mean? Because Fujinami, Sakaguchi, Riki Choshu were the top guys then, and they had like a rivalry thing with them. You know what I mean? Right. They drew a lot of money with it. And then,
Muta's still working today, having great matches still.
Yeah.
Well, moving on now to the main event of the evening.
I can remember Muta when that happened, and I can remember when he's around the same age, and I can remember seeing him, and he had not been home long, and I said, hey, what happened? He goes, whew. He didn't want to talk about it. I remember that, man. I remember I was at the Gathering, 2009 or 7 or 10 or somewhere in there. I look up, and it was real dark. Somebody's staring at him, it's Muta, and he goes, hey, what's up? Hugging him. I can remember him working Brad Armstrong on WCW, and they weren't pushing Brad at all. And he went 30 minutes with Brad. He come out of the ring right there in front of everybody. He goes, maybe you, Brad Armstrong, best worker of the United States.
Wow.
After that, they requested booking Brad when they had a working relationship, working in New Japan. Yeah. They weren't using him much good at all, and held him back,
That's awesome. That's the exact opposite of maybe.
When you say stories, that's things you remember.
Oh, yeah. That's the opposite of like the Flair story where he may quash something where Muta uses his influence maybe to help a guy.
Yeah, I mean, we were told, and the story the other day, and, and I knew Luger and Sting had, and I'd heard Flair, but Bart clarified it that Flair did too.
Yeah.
Chopped them, and when you're a guy and you're, trying to get there, guys are doing, you remember when somebody does that to you.
I have no doubt about that.
It costs you a lot of money like that, and it's like, wow,
It's cool to hear the opposite about Muta, as he
sure did. He told right there, and he had influence, believe me. And after that, wasn't long after that, Brad was in Japan. And they were hardly booking him, but he was on a weekly deal,
right.
And
Speaking of Ric Flair, we'll move it on to the main event of the evening. Ric Flair defeats Bobby Eaton in a 2 out of 3 falls WCW title match. 2 of the best workers the company had at the time. Anything you think about Ric Flair or Bobby Eaton stand out from this time era?
Well, that night, of course, we were on first, and we got out of there because my son, and I didn't see the match. I think I watched the playback, Salt and Pepper.
Yeah.
But,
that takes the stage.
Yeah. But I didn't see them. But they never did nothing after that as far as working each other. But, in the dressing room.
He was getting his run here, and I enjoyed the match. I was kind of wondering why there was
they never did nothing else out of that. I don't know, why or what or who or whatever. I think Dusty was booking then, I believe, and I don't know. You know what I mean? And they ended up sometime not real long when they did the thing with Paulie, with Rude, Bobby, Steve Austin Arn.
Yeah, this was a little bit after.
Remember that?
Because Austin had just got
a little after that. Yeah. Remember, something, and I don't know.
I always
they worked a lot with Steamboat. and Austin had classic matches.
Awesome matches.
Arn, Steve Austin had classic tags with Barry Windham. He was great. Barry Windham was great. Yeah.
I remember, just completely off the WCW topic, but I remember you starting a riot in IWA with Bobby Eaton.
Oh, God, yeah. 2002.
Yeah, that's a much later
crazy.
On, but man, it's a good time.
Hero sold it good because he was doing things like trying to calm me down. He goes, punch me. And I punched him or did something. He like took a bump through the chairs. And people went ape shit. Because they loved Hero.
You know, fake bats and everything.
They were, they come at one. A bat with nails on it and tried to hit me with it. Yeah, man. And you guys remember Jay Bradley? He's called.
Oh, yeah.
Him.
Brad Bradley back in the day.
A guy made a move on me, and then Brad beat about 2 or 3 of them. He beat the fuck. I pulled Brad off. I tried to pull him off of him. And they were coming after me. Yes. He says, "Why are you stopping me? They're trying to kill you, motherfucker." I remember that big Brad.
He's a big boy.
Punk had trained him, and
oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's going to wrap up WCW Clash of the Champions 15, as this card was absolutely loaded. I want to thank Tracy Smothers for running down memories from this card, and I want to remind you, tune in to School of Smothers podcast every Wednesday, homersradio.com, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Podbean, and anywhere you get your podcast, gorilla style. See the School of Smothers' own Tracy Smothers live at UCW at the Clinton County Fair, Saturday, June 17th at 7 p.m. Central Time. Tracy Smothers will be tag teaming with JD Thunder in a 2 out of 3 falls final for the UCW Tag Team Title Tournament against Ravishing Ronnie Roberts and Chris Majors. Do you dream of becoming a professional wrestler? Learn from the legend Tracy Smothers at the School of Smothers in Mount Pulaski, Illinois. Friday, July 14th, 12 to 5. Saturday the 15th, 11 to 2. Sunday the 16th, 11 to 2. For more info, contact School of Smothers at AOL.com.